Hello, listeners. Thank you for joining me on 21st Century Native Leaders. My name is Peter Deswood III, and I am here with Jaroleen Smith. Jaroleen owns the People's Home Healthcare, so we're going to talk with her about her business, some of the struggles, and some of the positives, outcomes, and the impact she's making on the community, Four Corners community. Thank you for joining me, Jaroleen.
Hi, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So usually to start out, I have people on the show introduce themselves, their tribal affiliation, any clans possibly. So go ahead.
Okay. Yat A. My name is Jaroleen Smith Yinshe. Tetnizatni Ninshlik, Lashti Bashishchin, Hoatlana Dashiche, Ashini A Dashanele, Ahota Asta Nishle, Zetnao Ditli Aden Yinshe Nasha. So I am from Zetnao Ditli. So nice to meet you.
Yeah, absolutely. So welcome. And, I'm Twachini and Kifachini. Ashihanis are my Chays. So there's a relation there as well. So, that's important to a lot of natives is that kinship and clanship that we have to identify relationships. So talk with me a little bit about how you opened the business, the People's Home Healthcare.
Well, I was working with another home care company at that time, and I was the administrator there. So I oversees the management of the company. I was available 24/7 because that it was what was running a 24/7 company was like. Um, I I coordinated and ensured all operations were always going and improving. I did all of the company policies, the procedures, the reports and activities, and human resources, the duties, the scheduling, the monitoring of all the clients and the employees. And one day, I just told and spoke to my friend at the time, Travis Gray, who is now my partner. And I told him, I have always wanted to start my own business and my own healthcare business, home care business. And it was pretty amazing because there was no doubt in his face when he just responded and said, just do it. So then a couple of weeks later, he seen this ad on Facebook from his friends on Facebook, and she seemed to be selling a company that he told me, and I wasn't really quite sure what kind of company it was. So he arranged a meeting. He arranged a meeting with her, and he wanted me to go with him. So we traveled to Chinle to meet the seller. She was telling me about her company, and she wasn't really descriptive about it, but it sounded like it was a really good company. I did not know it was a home care company. So at the very end, when I asked her, I said, so is this a home care business? And she responded, yes. So um, she apologized that she did not right off the back say it was a home care business. I was very interested, and I remember I was thinking right then and there it was fate calling, saying that this is what was the right time and the right opportunity right there when I was just speaking a couple days ago that I wanted to start my own company. So, regardless of that, a couple days later, we purchased a company, and the best part was the only thing that was established was the name, the People's Home Care. So that's how we came about with arriving to opening a business.
Oh, that's awesome. I like that. So did you do any market research? How could you tell there was a need for home healthcare services on the Navajo Nation or in the Four Corners area?
Well, just like I've also worked in I've also worked and seen as far as like how nursing homes and living assistant facilities go. And I can tell you right off the back that there is nobody who would vouch to say that a loved one of theirs would want to go there. And, you know, getting home care services is exactly the same thing as getting care in a living assistant facility or a nursing home. There's home health care as well. So There's even if somebody thinks they don't need that much of an extent to get medical services, that's what I do. I provide non-medical services. So it's where you can still get assistance, help at home by staying comfortably in your home.
So by that you mean like a family member, I guess a child or someone can care for their loved one within the home. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Yes. A lot of family members also don't want that's what I do is I give the family member of the loved one an opportunity to take care of their loved one because there is a lot of kids that have to take care of their family, but at the very same time, they need to support themselves. They need some sort of income to take care of themselves. So this is a really good opportunity for a lot of them to know that even if they stay home and take care of their loved one, they can still get paid with the state. So I think it really is a good opportunity for them.
So I have two questions off of that. Is there any special training required for a home health care profession or professional? And then I guess after that is like what type of requirements does the state offer, certification or anything like that?
Well, first of all, in order to start a home care, you or a home health care, you have to either have the education or the experience to start one up. Most of the time, a lot of home health cares or home cares need somebody that holds, I guess, a bachelor's in nursing or a master's in some sort of healthcare area and somewhere in the healthcare area. So that's what I have is when I started mine, that was kind of like a requirement. You had to obtain one of the other.
So you oversee these healthcare that are in within individual homes. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So then that's where I guess that's where the oversight comes in. So whenever you work with the individuals that are caring for loved ones, are they W-2 employees or are they independent contractors? How does that work?
Yes, they are W-2 employees. In order to get a home care service anywhere, any place, you would you would need to have an agency provide that. An agency is the one that provides and gets employees employed or people employed, and just for state and tax regulations and all of that stuff, just to make sure that it's pretty legit as far as employment.
Oh, that's awesome. And I like that because I have a 92-year-old grandmother that's still at home, and my aunts take care of them. I think that's something that's pretty unique within Native communities, right? An older sibling, like my mom's one of my old mom's older sisters, takes care of my grandmother and is there to help her. But that's a pretty interesting option that is available. So you talked about purchasing the business. Did you use personal capital? I know you said you have a business partner. Talk with me a little bit about the financing to purchase that. Were you able to get a loan? Did you utilize a loan? Talk to me about that.
Okay, so with that, I'm just really grateful that as far as the funding or the finances that has been in this process of supporting the people's home care has been all coming from my partner. He is also the chief financial officer, so he's been doing the hustling. He has another job and he owns another business, so he's been funding me to run this business. So that's kind of how we've been working it.
That's awesome. So talk with me a little bit about your education. I think so. So you definitely in the health care field, and your partner has the business acumen on that side. So talk to me about your education.
My education, I actually have, I got my bachelor's back in 2017, and that was in healthcare administration. And then the second one I got shortly after, well, I was I was okay with just having a bachelor's, but when I started seeing how more demanding, when I was working closely more into seeing how nursing homes were and how living assistant facilities were, and it just made me want to be more motivated to get my master's. And that was when I went back to school and I ended up getting my master's in healthcare administration, because I just knew that it was going to open more doors for me and it was going to give me much a bigger opportunity to start something like this, because this has I've always been something that I have always wanted to do.
Oh, that's pretty cool that your degrees actually are what you're doing with your business, and that's pretty awesome. So, talk with me about any of the challenges you've faced. I know you're probably a priority one, women-owned business. Talk with me a little bit about some of the challenges.
Okay, so just like any business, starting it is pretty difficult to endeavor. So it's really critical to identify challenges and set a plan for how we would be able to tackle them. I believe it was all the correspondence through this whole process, as far as getting licensed through the state, the IRS, um, and the insurance. It was very challenging. And how I overcame that, I mean, I was always calling and calling them, and I spent hours waiting on the phone just to hear someone or speak to somebody, asking them how the process it was going, how the process was going. And it took about 10 to 15 minutes to get the answer, but that's kind of what was really difficult, was the correspondence, because at that time as well, that's when COVID was really high and it was contagious. So it was everywhere where you saw that there was always going to be a delay in correspondence. So that was pretty much a challenge for us. The second one was assembling a team. I have always believed that starting a business like this, you needed to have a great team. By this, I just learned how to be more independent on myself and having more faith that I can do it. Also, the funding. Of course, starting the funding a business from scratch was definitely a challenge. Every day, that's what I'm always saying, is every day I'm grateful and thankful for my partner, who has always worked very hard to provide all the funds since we started this. So he definitely made us overcome this. So, of course, we have many challenges. So it's pretty amazing how we've come so far. Like I always say, I didn't come this far to get this far. And I just believe that's what's been keeping me going. And whenever I counter a challenge, I always, I'm a high believer in myself and in my partner that we can overcome it.
Wow, that's awesome. So, talk with me. So, I know about the LLC structure, limited liability corporation. Talk with me about the PLLC.
The PLLC. So, in order for us to become a PLLC, we had to be. It's called a professional limited liability company. Because I do hold a master's in healthcare administration, we were able to transform the limited liability company into a professional limited liability. So that was kind of like a bonus for us, because I do hold a master's and that's what it became.
Wow.
So,
So,
yeah.
are the protections the same as a LLC, or is it kind of like I guess an accreditation?
Yes, it is an accreditation. So, as far as we do have more regulations and laws and policies to abide by, but it's still it's we can still maintain it.
So talk with me a little bit about that oversight, those policies that you have to. You said it was a little bit more stringent. Like what type of I guess red tape in a sense that you have to navigate.
Okay. So, in order for us to, for those policies and procedures, what we have to do is we have to abide by the law. We have to, and there's regulations, state mandated things that, and it's not only in just one area. We have New Mexico. New Mexico has a whole, it's way, their laws and their policies are way different comparing to Arizona. That's what I'm learning. Even the Navajo Nation, there's laws that you have to abide by. So they're all different, but they all work almost the same way. But maybe New Mexico has as far as like with my company, in order to run my company in New Mexico, we had to get our fingerprint clearance. We had to get Arizona clearance. We had to provide that with the Navajo Nation. So there's all these rules that you have to put in place in order to get licensed for each state.
So does the Navajo Nation, uphold the PLLC as well?
Yes, they do. I am licensed as a professional limited liability company on the Navajo Nation in Arizona. As far as New Mexico, I am still a limited liability company only because I am not a domestic company here. I'm actually a foreign here. So in Arizona, I'm a domestic. So
And is that because of the sovereign status of the Navajo Nation?
I believe so, yes. Hmm.
Oh, that's awesome. So what strength do you feel you have that I guess leads to you running the business?
Well, I think that I have at least, it's because I had 10 years of experience as being not only in the field of home care, home health care, and administration. Um, I also did take on, and I was for all those many years, I have been also a caregiver, a personal care assistant, and a home health aide. So I've been on both sides of the end, and I can see both perspectives, and I've gained a lot of experience as far as taking on a client, taking care of them, as far as providing services for them. I've I have both experiences and that hands-on mostly.
That's always good. I know boots on the ground. I guess that's a way to talk about it, but you're definitely in there, and sounds like you're doing a really good job with that. So, talk with
Thank
me
you.
about registering with the Navajo Nation. I always hear people say it's difficult, it's time consuming. Talk with me about that process.
Okay, well, that is actually true. In between all that time when we were getting licensed with Arizona and New Mexico, I was also focusing on the Navajo Nation certification. The process was we had to do an application, our resume, we had to do a list of our projects, a financial statement, organizational charts, duties, and responsibilities as far as being owners. We had to provide CIBs and a business plan. The business plan was a pretty difficult thing. It was talking about introducing your company, the history, the mission statement, the financial goals, executive summaries that included your opportunity, solution, market focus, the competitions, competitive advantages, product overview, all of those things as far as an operating plan, payment, employees, your locations, sales strategy, and your financial plan. Those were all the things that you had to put in your business plan to give them that great idea of like what you're going to do as far as running a business on the Navajo Nation. And yes, it is very difficult because it took me 3 attempts to send them. And the first time they lost my application. The second time they didn't know what happened to my application. So the third time was when we were finally successful.
Right, and I always hear it's those iterations where you're checking in, where people just give up to apply and to get that certification. But once you get that process, I mean, do you see advantages to be certified on the Navajo Nation?
I do because what we were also told as being licensed on the being licensed in Arizona and New Mexico was you could not provide any kind of services unless on the Navajo Nation unless you were licensed. So yes, it is a big advantage because that's kind of where I wanted to pinpoint a lot of my services was the Navajo Nation. That was kind of my goal was to hit the Navajo Nation, provide services, get out there and provide those services.
Wow. And did anybody guide you through that process, or did you just struggle through it by yourself with your partner?
Um, yes, nobody told me how to go about with it. I just learned how to do it all by myself. It was pretty challenging, but it was also a well lesson learned thing that I learned how to gain.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad you got that registration and are identified as I guess, a Navajo Priority One business. Am I correct?
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. So I know you talked about your partner taking care of the finances. Who takes care of your advertising?
The advertising is me. I'm the one that takes care of all the advertising. I do all the marketing. I pretty much do all of it. I get myself out there. I let my friends know about the people's home care. A lot of it is through word of mouth. So I have also reached out to all the IHS. I've also reached out to a lot of the tribal case managements to introduce the company with flyers through emails, business cards, and again, word of mouth. I also, lastly, set up a Facebook business page. So that has been getting more attention. And I'm just very thankful to have that one because I also learned how to build a website for the company and I made my best to make it, but it's there.
That's good. I think that's pretty. I guess that's the common trend for sole proprietors, and as they're building their businesses, you do everything. You're the HR manager, you're the marketer, and it's actually nice that you have a business partner that takes care of the finances. That's part that a lot of people that I talk with, that's the part they struggle with, right? I think a lot of people that I work with are craftsmen, create jewelry, and but just that's the part that's the big struggle. So talk with me a little bit more about your services. Like, are you looking for people to to hire, to employ? Or, yeah.
Yes, I am always looking for employees. Usually this kind of field is very challenging because it's not really up to us to get a client as well. But I noticed that a lot of these people that want to be employed, they bring on their clients and they call and say, I need help. I wanted to know. I'm always taking care of my mother. I'm wondering if there's any services or anybody that can help us. I can get paid. A lot of a lot of family members ask. So that's kind of how I get employees. Also, I can get people that come in independently to if they're just looking for a job and let's say they need a job in Farmington and I have somebody that needs to be taken care of in Kirtland. So if the family member does not mind having a non-family member in the home, then that's who I would put in. So I am always looking for employees as well.
That's awesome. And so there you go. If you're looking to take care of a loved one within your home, contact Jaroleen at the People's Home Care. So really quickly, what would you say is your ideal? What does your ideal healthcare professional look like that you're looking to hire?
Mostly I try to go first in for people that are very well experienced. I always do want to make sure that a lot of the people that I place in the home are very well knowledge. They have the abilities and the skills to know exactly what to do as far as providing non-medical services. You also, it is like I mentioned, we are under state, so we do have mandated laws and policies and procedures. So we have to make sure that we're not putting somebody in grandma's home that is has a record on them either for speeding or having so many tickets or they had a criminal offense of some sort. I mean, these are things that I always make sure that I'm am very literate about. I just want to make sure that who I put in someone's home, they're going to be safe and it's going to be okay for them as well. So we do require CPR, first aid, a criminal background check, and that is the driving record and the fingerprint clearance. So we got to make sure that we have that. And just like I mentioned, the experience. And if they have education, that's always a big plus for me.
So, what do they get extra bonus pay for having a healthcare background?
I do believe, yes, I do pay a lot of my employees based on the experience, mostly too. And I also like to accommodate them as far as having an education. Like, let's say we put somebody in the home that requires having insulin, and then this person is a medical assistant. Yes, I would definitely take that into a big consideration.
So, I have a question, a little bit deeper question about that. So, like, if let's say I'm 75 and my spouse is, requires insulin, diabetic, or would I qualify as the healthcare provider, or can it be a spouse or no?
Um, yes, if you are, um, like, I do believe if you are going, like I mentioned, if you're wanting to get services and you want to be the one taking care of it and taking care of her and getting paid, we would definitely have to make sure that you are licensed first. That is the big thing that I always make sure is you have to be licensed, either as a medical assistant or a nurse to take on the needles and just the hazardous stuff. So we can't just make you to take care of your mom. I mean, you could do it privately at home, but if you're with an agency, we probably won't be able to do that unless you obtain one or the other license or certification.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool. I'm glad you shared that with me because I always wondered
Mhm.
about that. And so you talked about some of the policies and the oversight from the states. Are they pretty common? Are those policies and procedures pretty? I guess the laws governing home health care, is it the same for Arizona, New Mexico, and the Navajo Nation, or are there a lot of differences?
Um, it's pretty much the same. That's they just put it in a different context, but yes, they are very much the same. You can't you can't do there's we have a lot of do's and don'ts, especially if we're not provide especially for my company that we are not providing non-medical services. We won't be able to provide that. I mean, those are things that you can also, and that's the nice thing about home care is if grandma, like let's say your example, if your wife the insulin, we could still come into the home and we can still take care of her. And since you can't do it, you can have home health care take care of that. They just come in, give the insulin, and then they go. So that's another thing. If you have a nurse coming in, they won't provide the services that we do. If wife said, "Can you help me fix my bed?" They won't do it. They will not do it. So us, we can do that. So we're very strict as far as like the things that we can do and the things that we cannot do.
Wow. And so do you sign contracts with the family so they know what those do's and don'ts are?
Yes, a lot of these family members, that's another thing I feel like we struggle as agencies around the Navajo Nation is a lot of agencies do not provide handbooks for their clients. All the do's and don'ts, they don't provide them. Um, and that's a nice thing about me is I did create a client handbook. So every services that we provide, I also indicate everything in there as far as the things that we can't do. Also, I've noticed that a lot of non-family members, um, they get harassed or they get in trouble for something. I have a lot of that in handbooks because I do really take a lot of considerations into my employees. Being a caregiver is something that's not for everyone. It's a very hard thing for a lot of people, and it's a very big tough job. So I always like to take care of my employees. So I always make sure that providing this handbook, we have a lot of do's and don'ts for them. Sexual harassment, non harassment policy, non discrimination policy. the services we provide, the services we can't provide. So yeah, I think that that's the nice thing about having a handbook for each and every client.
Wow, definitely a lot of intricacies to home health care. I'm glad you shared that with me. It's definitely some important things to think about and consider whenever you want home, I guess, healthcare within your field or within your home. So, talk any advice you have for anyone who wants to start a business on the reservation, on the Navajo reservation?
Advice, gosh. Yeah, I mean, if you all I know is when I did it, I wasn't really, I guess if you put your mind to it, you can do it. Because I worked from my last job, I mean, I wasn't even with my certifications, my experience, my knowledge, my skills, and my education. I mean, those are things that were never actually looked at. I mean, a lot of people don't really take that into consideration. They they don't really appreciate it. So when I got that, I mean, it made me feel like I was on top of the world. I felt like, but at the very same time, I've always had that mentality like I could do anything I wanted to do. And I think for anybody that wants to start a business, if you believe in yourself, if you believe in, you have faith in yourself and you have a higher being that you pray to. I mean, those are a lot of things that I consider. I mean, I've done a, I'm traditional, so I really do pray and I'm very thankful. And I always believe that we put reasons to what we do. And I think that for anybody that also wants to start a business, you can do it, stay motivated, stay positive, and just always be a team player.
Oh, thank you. That's pretty powerful message that you had to share. And is there anything else you would like to add?
Well, like I've mentioned, this business is a Navajo owned business. We are licensed, we are insured, and we are operating in New Mexico, Arizona, and the Navajo Nation. We take on clients for people that need help. We also provide, I also partnered with a program called Vetisis. So I do take veterans and their surviving spouses. So anybody that needs assistance, I mean, this is all no out of pocket costs as well. This is for veterans or their spouses who choose to stay home as well. They can get non medical services, and of course anybody that is has that help, we help fix those people that have the fixed income, seniors or disabled individuals, anybody, they are the ones that can afford to get the care that they need. And that's the problem, is a lot of people don't, there, it's just money that's sitting there that can help a lot of people that need help. So I do have these resources to provide services. So if anybody needs help, anybody has a loved one that needs help or is a concerned individual, I mean, this is what I would like to say is we're here. There's a lot of us out there and we're ready to help them.
Oh, that's awesome. And how can people contact you? Website, email, Facebook, Twitter?
Yes, a lot of my information is on the website, and that's at www.thepeopleshomecare.com. And I also have Facebook. Look us up as The People's Home Care, and we should pop up right there. I'm also located at a very nice location where I am like the first building on the right before the hospital at 900 West Pinion Street. So you can stop on by and get some information, grab my card if you have questions. I mean, I'm those are like the three things that I would definitely say that I'm located at.
Wow, that's awesome, Geraldine. And again, thank you for taking some time. I know you're probably really busy, and to share your journey. I mean, I think that's one thing that's important is if people, if they need help navigating, maybe they can reach out to you and get some input and what to do. But that's powerful to hear that it took you 3 times, and I think that really goes to being persistent, right? Not giving up, and like you were saying, just do it. And but that persistent, especially if you have money, financing available, and a lot of times they give you a deadline like 30, 40 days, and if you're going through and being denied 3 or 4 times, that kind of puts strain on, I guess, on your resources. So, but I
Mhm.
appreciate you sharing, and we are all set. If you could send me a picture of yourself and then of your company logo, that way I can put them side by side and then share it on the podcast.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. I appreciate this opportunity. This is really nice. Thank you.